Now, we will look into Envelop Generator. It's good that it's printed on the DX7 front panel, so we can always look at it. You will notice that there are 8 parameters, and these parameters are divided into rate, the speed of an envelope, and the level, the amount of an envelope. I also made a comparison of the DX7 Envelop Generator to a traditional ADSR envelope. Attack corresponds to rate 1 and level 1. Decay equates to rate 2 and rate 3, as well as level 2 and level 3. Sustain is rate 3 and level 3. Release corresponds to rate 4 and level 4. You will notice that the DX7 Envelop Generator is more flexible than the traditional ADSR envelope. That's because you can control the speed and amount. Also, you have an option of using rate 2 and level 2 as part of decay or sustain. Let's have a look at how an envelope is set for each operator. Press button 21 and 22 and use operator select button to cycle through each operator. Remember that the tube bells uses algorithm 5. You have 3 towers with operator 1, 3, and 5 as carriers, and operators 2, 4, and 6 as modulators. Based on the carrier and the modulator relationship of the FM synthesis, operators 1, 3, and 5 act like a VCA, controlling the volume of a sound. As operators 2, 4, and 6 are modulators, their envelope act like VCF envelopes, controlling harmonic/inharmonic contents of a sound over time. The table you see here is envelope data from the tube bells. Let's quickly compare each envelope. From just glancing this table, you will notice that envelopes of operators 1 and 3 are the same. Also, envelopes of operators 2 and 4 are the same. And yes, this is because tower 1 with operators 1 and 2 and tower 2 with operators 3 and 4 are almost the same from frequency to egg parameters. Now, we will look into egg data in details. Rate 1 for all operators is greater than 70, indicating faster attack rate. Level 1 for all operators is 99, which is a maximum value for envelope generator. This means that level 1 is at maximum volume for carrier operators 1, 3, and 5, as well as maximum modulation for modulator operators 2, 4, and 6. Rate 2 for operators 1, 2, 3, and 4 shows its slow decay rate. For operators 5 and 6, their rate 2 is much higher with faster decay rate. When we look at level 2 for all operators, they are 0. This means that there is no output at level 2 for both carriers and modulators. This tells you that the tube bell sound that we hear is from level 1, from attack to decay. If we look at rate 3, from operators 1 to 5, it's set at 71. Then if we look at level 3, from operators 1 to 4, it's set at 32. Interesting thing about this is that when you press a key longer, you can actually hear a faint sound of the tube bells. So what is happening with operators 1 to 4 is that volume and modulation quickly reaches maximum at level 1 then slowly decays to level 2, which is 0, then quickly reaches to level 3, which is 32. I don't have an explanation for this, but my guess is that this was left over from editing the original sound. You can pretty much set rate 3 and level 3 0 because all volume and modulation is generated at level 1 only. Now, let's look at rate 4 and level 4. For operators 1 to 4 and 6, rate 4 is set at a lower level, so you have longer release when you lift your finger from a key. For operators 5, it has a quicker release, so a sound stops instantly when you release a key. Level 4 for all operators is 0, so there is no continuous sound generated after a key is released. Now, we can summarize Envelop Generator for the tube bells. It has faster attack rate and its volume and modulation is done at level 1. It has a slow decay rate for the bell tone. Rate 3 and level 3 are redundant. It has a slow release for the bell tone. The Tower 3 with operators 5 and 6 have faster overall envelopes, hence producing attack tone only. You can pause this video for self-learning tutorial. What I like you to do is to familiarize yourself with the DX7 and FM synthesis Envelop Generator. Let's play around with rate. Turn on operators 1 and 2 only. Select operator 1 and change rate 1 lower. Try from 70, then 50, 30 and 0. How do these changes affect the overall tone? Once you completed the previous task, put operator 1 back to 95. Select operators 2 and change rate 1 down from 70, 50, 30 and 0. How do these changes affect overall tone? Now let's try playing around with level 1. Select operator 1 and change level 1 to 70, 50, 30 and 0. How do these changes affect the overall tone? Once completed, put operator 1, level 1 back to 99. Select operator 2 and change level 1 to 70, 50, 30 and 0. How do these changes affect the overall tone? A useful tip to remember is that you can always copy an envelope to another operator using egg copy function. If you haven't subscribed yet, then please do so. When you are ready, you can go through the tutorial, FM synthesis, sound design, tube bells part 3. We will revise envelope generator and introduce more priority parameters.